Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, ladies and gentlemen, very good day. This is really a great pleasure for me, and associations that I represent to, the Jakarta Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as KADIN Jakarta, and Association of Digital Leaders Indonesia, or APDI, to discuss about, to share with you our finding, perspective, experience on how digital trust, already discussed before, and digital leadership are really imperative for development and for sustainability of financial services, at least in Indonesia. So, when we discuss about the futures of finance, we tend to focus on technologies. We discuss about artificial intelligence, digital banking, financial technology, open banking, and embedded finance. But these technologies, those technologies are certainly important, but they are not a real story. The real story in the banking, finance, is trust. And finance and banking has always been built on trust. I was banker before. We do business because of trust. Okay? Any business is on trust. Trust is a license for you to do business, to do transactions. Could be data, could be money, could be everything. But you would only do that if you have trust. So customer trust institutions, okay, with the saving, funding, when I was a bank, we do the funding, funding due to trust. Business trust financial institutions to help them to support investment and business growth. Trust. Investor trust financial market to allocate the capital efficiently and transparently. Again, it's all about trust. So, but what is changing today is not the importance of understanding how important is the trust, but how the environment in which the trust must be earned. Okay? So, the question is whether financial institutions and banking can remain trusted as a finance become more digital. Used to be people are going to the bank, deposit money, you see the teller, you see the customer service. But today, almost any bank services is digitalized. And the transformations of digital in the banking, financial services, and industry is already happening anyway. So it's not a question about how digital, but how be trustable digital. So to answer the questions, I would like to start my discussions with the financial sectors. In what level actually our financial sectors? Okay. So if we see Indonesian economy, ladies and gentlemen, this country is having very well positions, considerably strength in economic terms. Despite of global uncertainty, Indonesia continues to maintain growth around 5%. As mentioned by speakers before, it's about 5%. Is it enough? Of course not enough. But is it bad? Not that bad. Not that bad. It's okay. As it makes us as one of the most resilient economy among emerging countries. We are stable but mediocre, but middle, 5%. Okay, and the banking industry remain very well capitalized in this country. Banking credit reaching approximately about 9,000 trillion IDR, okay? Deposit exceeding almost 10,000 trillion IDR, and capital adequacy ratio among banks in Indonesia exceeding 30%. So from that macroeconomic point of view, we are very well. But beyond banking fundamentals, we also see the very good opportunity with this country. Yeah? Indonesia has become ASEAN zone largest digital economy. In relation to digital banking and digital finance, this country is having a projected to exceed 150 billion US dollars digital economy. And is supported by connected populations. Unfortunately, this connectivity, mostly in Java, Sumatra, Bali, coastal area of Kalimantan, and coastal area of Sulawesi. But it represents about 85% of our digital economic activity. There is a digital gap issue there. Banks are no longer competing only with other banks in terms of services. They are competing with financial technology, digital platform, ecosystem payment, and increasingly, competing with customer expectations shaped by the digital economy. So you compete with the expectations of your customer. Not only with your competitors, but you are competing with expectations. And the key of the expectation is trust. Okay? Consequently, the competitive landscape is changing faster than traditional financial institutions have ever experienced before. Yeah? And the clearest evidence of that change can be seen in Indonesia digital banking ecosystem. Yeah? So we see that Indonesia digital banking imperative. Digital banking transactions reach about almost 2 billion transactions. The transaction value exceeded 8,000 trillions, reflecting double-digit growth in both volume and value. Queries, as mentioned before, evolved into one of Indonesia's greatest financial success stories, and many others success stories. So this number tells us something important. Digital banking is no longer to support channel. It is becoming the primary infrastructures through which financial services are delivered. Yet, every success creates a new responsibility anyway. This is success, but create a new responsibility. More customers create more data. Okay? More data creates more exposure. And more exposures increases the importance of how we manage the risk or how we handle the trust. Okay. The more digital the financial system becomes, the more trust becomes its defining asset. Which is why digital trust has emerged as one of the most important strategic issues facing the financial industry today. So, what has changed in the nature of the threat facing the trust? We see that according to BSSN, BSSN is a national agency for cybersecurity and cryptography, or BSSN, we are facing about 4 billion cyber anomalies, in the first semesters last year. Losses reported about 8 trillion IDR. At the same time, it's quite threatening and trust challenging is AI-powered fraud. This is like a deep fake. Okay? So that's why liveness application become very important to avoid the deep fake, synthetic identity or social engineering. And those attacks are becoming increasingly sophisticated, or more and more sophisticated. Okay, breaching your or threatening the trust level. So the implication is very clear. Yeah, the greatest risk facing financial institutions today is not merely cyber risk. It is about trust. This is trust risk. Your consumers may accept occasional service disruptions. They may accept it. They may accept temporary inconvenience or service disruptions. But your customer will rarely forgive financial institutions for breaches of trust. So this is reflected in consumers' behaviors. Yeah. My association's survey show that security and data protections rank above convenience part. Used to be convenience first, currently different. We focus, customer focus on the cybersecurity and data protections. And those security and data protections rank above not only convenience, but also rank above features. Useless to have a lot of features if they don't trust you. Or even promotions, when the Indonesians choose digital financial services. So trust, therefore, can no longer be treated solely as a cybersecurity issue. Trust has become a strategic issue for your organizations, financial institutions, bank, and belong not only to the CISO or CTO. This is the issue of the boardroom. This is the issue of leadership. This is the issue of leaders of your organizations. So which means the future of finance and banking ultimately become the questions of leadership. Is not, if you are leaders, this is your issues. Your subordinate, the issue, but the ultimate beneficiary, the ultimate decision maker is your highest policymakers in your organizations. So let's go to leadership and the digital ads in the banking industry. The leaders who built successful bank 20 years ago operated in a fundamentally different environment. We see that today leaders extend far beyond balance sheet. During my time 20 years ago, we are seeing the numbers. Numbers, balance sheet, P&L, liquidity, solvency, something like that. And profitability, market ownership, penetration, things like that, program. But today, leaders extend beyond those things. Leaders must understand artificial intelligence. They need to really understand cybersecurity and data governance. They really understand ecosystem strategy, regulations, and customer experience in the same time. So your leader is not just a leader. They need to be a digital leader. That's the reason why I give a title about digital leadership. Because digital trust is about leadership, and they need to be a digital leaders. So, at least we need to have 3 capabilities. That is very important as a leaders. First is they need to have a regulatory intelligence in which they understand regulatory changes as a competitive advantage. You might use AI this, please, but this is the competitive advantage rather than as a compliance burden. Used to be all those regulatory compliance or burdens. But today, with your provisions in this area, it can be your strategic competitiveness. Second is a digital architecture's ownership, in which leaders ensures AI governance, ensures cybersecurity, and digital infrastructures receive board-level attention. So board issue, okay? And the third is, you might see that inclusive growth leadership is very important. In this matter, ladies and gentlemen, we see that this country still has estimated about 75 million Indonesian populations are unbanked adult. With a very competitive, cutthroat competitive in a bankable or bank adult, you might see this opportunity as representing the largest opportunities for financial inclusions and business growth for your company. So the lesson is very simple. The futures belong to the institutions that can simultaneously build trust, embrace innovations, and expand inclusions, and it will go to the sustainability perspective of the banking toward Indonesia Emas 2045, which is sustainability. Historically, financial institutions have treated digital trust, financial inclusions, and sustainability as separated agendas. But nowadays, the distinction of those four perspectives are rapidly disappearing. So these priorities are now becoming one integrated strategy. Digital trust, financial inclusions, and sustainability. Sorry, not four, three agendas. So, trust enable participations. Participations drive inclusions. And sustainability ensures that growth can endure. So, but anyway, the gap remains significant between those three. Access is increasing faster than understanding. Okay, you might have digital access to the financial services, but your understanding or your level of literacy is not keeping up. And whenever access grows faster than literacy, risks such as fraud or mis-selling or poor financial decision-making tend to increase or realize. So you need to have a balance between creating a better access and driving financial and digital literacy among stakeholders, including your target customers. At the same time, banking, financial institutions, even multinational, multilateral banking are increasingly becoming, see that climate risk is a financial risk. Banks are now expected to integrate sustainability considerations into lending decisions. That's why there is a role of sustainability in the boardroom now. Risk management framework and long-term capital allocations. So the conclusion is quite straightforward. Trust, inclusion, and sustainability are no longer separate priorities. They are becoming the blueprint of your banking futures competitiveness. So we move to the trust things. If we connect all the themes discussed today, a clear picture emerges. Indonesia has many advantages: a resilient economy, a strong banking sectors, the largest digital economy in Southeast Asia, and rapid digital adoption. And a relatively clear vision through Indonesia Emas 2045. But opportunity alone does not create leadership anyway. Those are opportunities. It does not create leadership. Leaders' execution does. So how to do that? The institutions that define Finance 2045 will excel at least in these three areas. They need to build trusted digital infrastructures. They need to deploy AI responsibly, as mentioned before by the previous speakers, and transform inclusions and sustainability into a long-term growth strategies. And that's all my presentation. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude my speech. Yeah. Everything we have discussed today, digital banking, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, inclusions, and sustainability, again, ultimately converge on a single issue of trust. Okay. Technology can be acquired as long as you have money, yeah, and willingness. You can acquire technology. Capital can be raised. If not in Indonesia, can be in Singapore, Hong Kong, or Dubai. Product can be replicated from other countries, especially for a multinational bank. You can replicate it, okay? But trust must be earned. They cannot be both, that cannot be replicated. So the institutions that earn trust will attract customers. Those that attract customers will create growth. In order to secure your sitting in a boardroom, you have to create growth. And those that combine trust, technology, inclusions, and sustainability, they will define Indonesia financial landscape in the futures, hopefully in the 2045 Indonesia Emas. And ultimately, the future finance will not be determined by who digitizes first. Yeah? Not who digitizes first, but who will determine by who. It will determine by who remain trusted while digitizing. Thank you very much for your generous attention. God bless you. God bless Indonesia. May peace be upon you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.